Thank you, Harmonica. Fearless Leader. Fearless Leader was in Rocky and Bullwinkle. He was a tall guy with a big scar on his face and a monocle. I hope my staff doesn't look at me that way. It's a pleasure to speak for NCAC, a privilege, in fact, on its 45th anniversary. Our history is one of our great strengths. We have fought many battles over the last 4.5 decades, and of course it's wonderful to win, but we have not been discouraged by losses because we know that free speech is the beating heart of democracy. We only lose if we stop fighting for it. There was another important anniversary yesterday. 100 years ago, Supreme Court Justice Oliver Wendell Holmes issued a dissenting opinion in the case of Abrams versus the United States. At the time, the First Amendment was an empty promise. There had always been censorship. Federalists had jailed newspaper editors. Abolitionists were attacked in the streets. Men and women who fought for sexual equality were prosecuted for obscenity. In his dissent, Holmes recognized that in a democracy, the people, not the government, must decide whether an idea has value. It followed that speakers must be free to say almost anything. He distilled his argument in a single sentence. If there is any principle of the Constitution that more imperatively calls for attachment than any other, it is the principle of free thought. Not free thought for those who agree with us, but freedom for the thought that we hate. Over the last century, American courts have embraced Holmes's view. It has protected a lot of hateful speech, but it has also made possible the expression of many ideas that once outraged the majority, but ultimately won its endorsement: women's suffrage, labor's right to unionize, equal rights for Black Americans, opposition to the Vietnam War, and gay marriage. It is human nature to want to suppress speech that hurts people, but the last century has shown that free speech is why democracy grows. Tonight, we're tremendously grateful to Justin Chanda, our event chair from Simon & Schuster. He and our tireless NCAC board chair, John Anderson, have worked extremely hard to make this night a success. You. Tonight, I'd like to pay special tribute to one of NCAC's founders, Marv Rich, who passed away at the end of last year. Marv was a tireless, lifelong activist for civil liberties and civil rights. It's impossible to overstate how much he contributed to NCAC over the years, and I'd like to thank his wife, Evie Rich, for joining us tonight. I also want to say a special thanks to Kelly Allen of Humble Bundle. Humble Bundle and its publishing partners raised more than $100,000 for NCAC programs this year, and we are tremendously grateful. I'm also delighted that David Levithan is here. David writes powerful books and then vigorously defends kids' right to read the books they want. We're huge fans, David. NCAC is committed above all to helping people. People are hurt when a book is banned or a painting is removed from view. 60% of the top banned and challenged books last year told stories about LGBTQ characters. As Harmonica reminds us, Drag Queen Story Hour events across the country are being protested and sometimes canceled. Artists are battling social media companies to be allowed to share their art uncensored. They aren't asking to fill every user's feed with nudity. They want the freedom to portray the human body in all its beauty and complexity and diversity. Our work every day is about helping people express themselves. That's what we were doing one early morning in June when we helped 125 naked people stage a protest of Facebook's nudity policy outside its offices in Astor Place. That was a glorious morning. I wish you could all have been there. Thanks to our friend Spencer Tunick, who's here tonight, for collaborating with us. To the publishers, writers, curators, artists, and students in the room, I want to say, keep making art that matters. Keep your voices raised and challenge us to see the world in new ways. NCAC will be there when you need us.